Hello, guys. My name is Ashley Hill here. I am the founder and CEO of ALH Group LLC, and I'm so excited today because we have a special guest. His name is Supra, and he is the founder of ChromaUp. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, exactly what that is and how really, and we've been talking for a while, Supra and I, about how the app that he has developed, how that's really going to, I believe, really change how college admissions, how that process goes, and really what parents, what you can do, and how you can help your child to really get on board and stay on top of things. So I want to welcome Supra. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Ashley. Hi, guys. How are you? I'm joining from California, so.
All right. So I'm going to jump right into it. And the thing is first of all, introduce yourself. Supra, tell us who you are, what you do, and your background, and anything else you want to share.
Sure. So my name is Supra Banahar. I'm the co-founder of an app called ChromaUp. We're actually rebranding it to ChromaUp. And what ChromaUp is all about is about an organic way to get kids college ready in a new economy where skills and what kids are all about is different than just academics and grades. My background, I'm an engineer. I used to be a startup guy, and I kind of fell into educational technology. I've been in 2 startups now that have built education technology products. And I've always been passionate about one thing, answering this one question, which I felt for the past 25 years of my career is when people ask me, tell me about yourself. First thing I'm like, boom, I hit a wall. And the second thing is I've never met a resume or an application that after I completed, I looked at it and I said, you know what, that doesn't sound like me at all. So I've been, I think technology is catching up where some of who you are and your strengths shouldn't be discovered 6 months or 1 year after somebody spends time with you. It should be able to be captured and discovered even beyond that. So that's what we're kind of attempting to do.
I love it. And just to get some background for the parents that are watching, it was so funny. I had noticed the Chroma app on Twitter, and so it's kind of cool how it worked out that now Supra and I had a chance to chat, and we're going to work on some future projects together. So it's kind of cool how technology kind of brought us together.
Yeah, I know. In fact, we've had the other schools and stuff that have found us on Twitter and started engaging with us and started working with us. So we're kind of excited. Social media is one way to do it. If you will.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I want to jump into this question is why should students invest time in building a portfolio of their experiences?
So let me just say one thing. The word portfolio is thrown around quite often, and I'm always nervous about it because one of the things we don't want students to do is get one more thing to do for college readiness, right?
Right.
So the premise of the portfolio, if you look at it today, is okay, I'm ready for my application. Let me go fill in my application and let me start building everything in. And guess what happens? Your portfolio shouldn't be something like that. It should be very, very organic. It should be something that happens while you're living your life. If you look at your strengths, your typical strengths are probably things that you learn 80% of the time outside of the classroom. Athletics or your leadership skills and those kind of things. It should be very organically captured. So when you say portfolio, if you look at what's happening in the world today, grades and test scores are getting less and less consequential, especially in the work environment. If you go to Facebook and Google, or even us, when we're looking for people to recruit, it doesn't matter to us if the person is from Harvard or some Ivy League school with a 4.0. The only question we want to know is, hey, some key skill set. Who is this person? Can they contribute? What can they do? And what are the strengths? Organic strengths, which actually make it very, very effective. So if you look, the world is already moving that way, and admissions, like everybody else, are going to be slow to move. But having your own portfolio is good for many, many things. Number one, for you to be capturing it organically on your own, to understand who you are. That's the primary key. And the ability to kind of showcase and let other people know who you are where they don't have time to find out about you. So in that way, capturing your experiences and your experience graph, who are you? What have you done? Who have you been since 8th grade to 12th grade and beyond is almost a critical thing. If you look at LinkedIn, LinkedIn has become, people don't stop doing resumes now. Everybody's doing LinkedIn. And if you look at LinkedIn, LinkedIn's all about your achievements. It's not necessarily focused on all the great things that you write about. It's all the great things that you can do. And so I think that's the future of where everything is going. It's already gone in terms of employment. I think having a good bearing on that yourself is a very, very valuable thing.
And I think that's great, and I'm glad that you touched on it's exactly what you're doing. So for parents that are watching and listening, it's important to get your child even in that mode and to start talking about this and having this conversation early.
And see, that's the thing, right? Like, for example, when we talk about the Chroma product, we'll talk about, when people always say, oh, one more thing to do. Guess what? If you guys all know kids who are like 13, sometimes even 13 and older, they're already archiving everything. They're already on Instagram. They're already on Snapchat. So they're already taking all these pictures and videos. So what we decided to do was, instead of making it some formal thing, let them do the exact same thing, which is just take pictures and quick videos of things. Except in this case with Chroma, which is exactly the same as a Snapchat or an Instagram, all it does is it's going to contribute to allowing them to capture their achievement timelines and who they are without doing anything extra. That's why the one thing that we wanted to focus on is, number one, let the kids do what they already do without overburdening them, and use what they already do to be able to kind of like get them prepared for college. The fact that they're using Chroma and even thinking about it automatically puts them in the mindset where they're thinking about an education and a higher education or a career pathway. And that in itself is a big bonus as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. And so next I want to ask you is, when should students start getting involved in activities to build up their portfolio?
So, it's kind of an interesting thing, right? I think the best portfolios are the ones that are organic. I have an 8-year-old, right? And if you look at most kids, they're already doing some amazing stuff. The things that you think are most inconsequential are sometimes the most interesting. I met this kid, one of our ambassadors, last week, and everybody was going around the table introducing themselves and saying, hey, this is what I want to be, this is what I want to do. And it came to this kid who's from Boston. First thing he says, I want to be an actor. And then he immediately said, you know what, I don't know if that's going to work, so I'm also learning to be a teacher just in case. And I always think to myself, he was so organic in his abilities, right? That was the one kid that stuck out from all these other kids who were super high achievers and stuff. And I always look at kids, even the most ordinary kid that goes and participates in a cleanup or something. It's such a learning experience that actually contributes to their overall personality. The fact that you're already taking pictures and videos of all this, and parents, let me just say, you've been to an event. I don't even see parents' faces, right? They've got cameras in front of their eyes, click, 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 videotaping. The whole premise is you're already capturing all of these achievements of your kids, and the kids are doing it on their own. Why not let it contribute to your success? And is there a right and wrong? No, there is no quantity and there is no thing. The premise of using, so typically we recommend that a kid 8th grade and above start using our app in terms of capturing, only because we give in-app advice on college readiness, and we're focused pretty much on not just college and career. We also kind of like present scholarship opportunities, we present internship opportunities. It's more appropriate for kids that age, but in terms of the premise, you want to start where your portfolio is not a reaction to an admission or the last minute thing. It's a very organic thing, because if it's organic, what it does do is it allows the kid and the parent to understand who you are. What are you supposed to be? When you ask a 12th grader, hey, who are you? Hey, they're not supposed to know. But if they have something that they can actually reflect on, many times you discover that you have certain innate skill sets that you didn't even realize or weren't even focused on. So the premise of your portfolio is not necessarily just to be a presentation, but if it's an organic way that you're capturing your experiences, it helps you kind of like, number one, be ready, know yourself better, and make the right decisions as you go forward. And of course, the cherry on the icing on the cake is the fact that you can actually use it as a portfolio for your college applications, if you will.
Right. And I definitely agree. Those are very great points. And, I like that the ChromaUp app really is for students starting in the 8th grade. That way that they can have, like you said, time to build those experiences and keep documenting.
Sure. Sure, absolutely. And that,
Yeah, so the next thing I wanted to go into kind of is more on the we'll call it the specifics, but should students aim for a specific number of activities, and then why or why not?
so that's something that we're going to try and take care of as an app. So right now we don't. One thing you don't want to do is, for example, if you're a soccer player, don't every time you play, you kick a ball, don't take a picture and post it, right? Then it doesn't make any difference. Remember, one of the things when you're telling a story is the impact of stories. We always talk to people about that. So while the image of something that you capture, for example, it's kind of important to show progression. Actually, you've been in college admissions and you know this. Organically, people are looking for strengths in you as a person. What are the strengths that typically help, right? The ability to handle failure, the ability to pick yourself up, the ability to have consistency, the ability to show caring, the ability to show leadership. These are all kind of things. And a lot of these kids, believe it or not, do a lot of that stuff, right? So when you say don't do too much, is there a right or a wrong? No. I mean, it would be hard to say that there's a right or wrong. What we are trying to do is we're trying to continue to develop the app so that even if you capture unlimited amount of stuff, you have the app is going to have the ability to pick and choose specific things that you can highlight over a period of time. So if you're young, don't worry about it. Capture it all because you can edit it later on when you're ready to present it to a college. But the other thing we're also trying to do in the long term is we're building an artificial intelligence engine at the back end to be able to find out what are these kids' strengths and advise the kids themselves, right? So that organically the app has enough intelligence to be able to tell them what to do. So in terms of the actual numbers, I don't necessarily have. I wouldn't say do this or do that. What I would say is make sure it's impactful. Something that you're adding, and many times don't worry about the image. I've seen kids. In fact, actually, I sent you a profile. I would love for you to share it. This kid, one of our kids. One of the things that I noticed is his photos may not be the best ones, but the descriptions. The way he ties. Like for example, he went and he ran an event for women something in New York City, and instead of just saying I participated in running for this event, what he says was I participated in this annual running event to increase awareness of women's rights. So he ties the story together with his, which immediately tells us, oh, he's actually thinking about these things. So the descriptions are important, while make sure you use action words, make sure you tell a story, because like everything else, if I come here and I sit there and give you features and benefits, I think most of our viewers will turn it off and say, who is this guy? You want to be able to associate and tell stories. So our whole premise is the media that you use and the descriptions and the context that you make tell the story of who you are, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, without the assumption. Don't make an assumption that it's not important. That's all I would say, because sometimes the most interesting things you do are the things that you don't think are interesting, if you will. So is there a holy grail? No, but on the same token, I would say, hey, spend about 2-3 minutes a week. I mean, which is not much at all, right? Considering they spend hours on Instagram taking pictures. All I would say is, hey, you already have the media between your parents and you. You already have the media. Every time you have a recital, there's probably about 15,000 pictures. So spend maybe 2 minutes taking one of those pictures, describing what you did, put it out there. If you think about it about 2 to 5 minutes a week and add an image a week thinking about it, it also helps in reflecting in terms of for you to self-reflect, to say, who are you, what are you? And parents, if you guys are doing it for your kids, it might make sense to kind of, especially the younger ones, it might make sense to actually have a conversation and say, hey, I added this is why. That way it helps them realize what are the things that are important.
And I love your answer, because there is no magic number. I definitely agree with that. And I love the fact when you gave the example, and we will be sharing the profile with everyone. It'll be a link that goes with this once we push this out today. Sure. But I love the fact that you said that the student gave context. He told the story of why he was running. Yeah. And that's so important, not only in admissions, but even in scholarship essays. It's important to tell the story. And I think, to keep this streamlined. It's just if you have that ChromaUp app, you can have it right there with your child as you guys are working through the applications, the essays, and that way you have everything that you need in one place.
You know what? That's an amazing thing. See, one of the features that we've been asked to develop by the kids, by the way, just so you guys know, this app was developed by kids. When we started building it, we had like a whole quorum of kids. And even today, we have a group of ambassadors that are all over the world that actually get together. We have a group. They all come and give us advice on what they think, and we keep modifying it based on their advice. One of the things that they wanted us to see if we could build was a essay recommendation tool to be able to look at, if a kid has had a profile for a long time, since the 8th grade, when they're ready to write an essay, with one click, give them some tips on what they think, what their strengths may have been and what they should be looking for. That's something we're looking at, and we'll continue to keep building it. But you're absolutely right, Ashley. I mean, the key thing for any premise is if you're an athlete and you go and play, don't say, went and participated in the regional. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything, right? I think telling somebody went and participated in a regional, 8 months of teamwork paying off, that is exciting to people, right? Oh man, that tells people something about the child. Hey, he or she has worked through the process. Going and participating, you know what? I mean, okay, I looked at it. Well, what does that mean? so you're absolutely right. I think stories and context, explaining what that meant to you is a very, very important part of the story for every image. And it's such a simple thing, right?
Yes. And so since we're talking about, and really this is for parents to get on board, of course, with their child, because I believe that preparing for college, preparing for their child's future career, it's really a teamwork. It takes teamwork. Mm-hmm. And so I want to ask you is how can parents support their kids in building the child's portfolio of experiences?
So as, if you're a parent, I mean, I think it's two things, depending on the age of the child, right? I mean, I would say most kids. I mean, most kids, we're talking about, at the end of the day, we're talking about teenagers. So, guiding them is important, right? I mean, if you're downloading the app at the 8th grade, remember, if you download the app, we don't have a parent version because remember, it was designed for the kids. So if you download it and set it up with an email and a password, if you have multiple devices, you can download the app and enter with the same phone number and email, with the same credentials, and then you both have access to the app. So in the beginning, as far as parents, I would say, hey, just tell your child, share, for example, the timelines that I gave you and you're going to be sharing, share that with your child and explain to them what it is, and when you take pictures of one of their events or whatever, explain to them, and when you do the descriptions, especially the younger kids, when you do a description to say, hey, we went to this recital, I spent 6 months preparing for it. Explain to them what that story meant. What is it like? We're talking about stories. An 8th grader may not kind of get the concept of what that is. To say, hey, the fact that you attended is not what people are looking for. The fact that you got there and the journey you took is what people are looking for. So as a parent, explaining that is kind of important. Sharing a profile or other things are important. The other thing that we're doing within the app, Ashley, is we're also putting micro scholarships and internship opportunities, which are basically driven by Chroma. We don't want your Chroma profile to be only to serve as a college admission thing. If you're in early, we want to present opportunities if we with the kid to kind of encourage kids and to give them the opportunity. If you have a good timeline, we want you to go and say, hey, here's a scholarship I can apply to. Here's an internship I can apply to. Can I actually reach out to the Chroma folks and say, hey, I live in this town. Can I get do you know anybody that you can, right now we're small enough where we've engaged it. And I'll give you, again, stories, right? We had a kid from Korea, one of our early users last January. He actually pinged me from Korea and he said, hey, I'm planning on applying for environmental engineering. I saw this one company CEO who happens to be one of your influencers. Can I actually get an internship there? So we basically said, send us your timeline. Because for us to send it to that person and to say, who is this kid and why should I give him an internship or a scholarship? Now you actually have a story, like a resume, a visual resume that people can use to evaluate. So as far as if you're a parent, there's lots of opportunity in there for you to kind of develop. But it also is a great way for you guys collectively, like you said, to think about things, and you understand yourself. One of the things that I realized with my kid is I don't even know what he does at school. He's 8. When I ask him, what did you do at school? First thing is nothing. I'm like, what do you mean nothing? You got to be doing something. If you're organically capturing it, it allows you to review it yourself and say, hey, and if your child comes and says, I want to be an NBA player, and you realize that the child hasn't actually been, I'm using a very, very broad analogy. If the kid doesn't have skill in basketball, it's probably a wise idea for you to kind of like talk through with your kid. More micro level, it helps you understand your child better, what their strengths are, and where they should, and how you should be guiding them, without forcing them. Remember, at the end of the day, this is all about dreams and achievements. It's not about you telling them what they can't do. It's about you telling them what they're really good at.
And I love how you explain that, because for parents, like you said, this is a really great way to even continue the parenting relationship, right? Because even though the college admissions, even though the teenager years are going by, there's still parenting going on. And so this is a great way to stay engaged with your child.
Absolutely, without any question. Absolutely, that's what we feel very strongly about it. We've spoken before about it. I think parental involvement is a very, very critical aspect of success. Forget about college. About just general success, having a parent who basically is there to guide a child is very, very, any mentor. Parents happen to be the ultimate mentor because they're sitting at home, if you will. And think about it. A lot of this stuff we used to say, right? The parents that are involved actively, technology has given us the ability to understand our kids better than actually shadowing them 24/7. Like an app like this doesn't necessarily do anything extra other than give you one more data point to say, hey, how can I help? That's all it is. Could you have done it before? Yeah, you could have, except it would have taken a lot of time and effort. Now it's easy. Like they say, nothing changes. The premise of doing something. Portfolios, are they new? You've been in college. You go to YouTube and type college admission videos. There's like about 50,000 of them. So kids are already doing them, but except the difference was the people that did it were people who had like a lot of guidance and help and stuff. Technology now, we have the pleasure of going to any child and saying, you don't need to have, spend thousands of dollars in college help to have a portfolio. If you can take a picture of a video, you got it. So
that's right.
So it's kind of like, our premise is, hey, you got it. These are the kind of things that are going to kind of level the playing field for making college and grade. See, and remember, in America, whether we like it or not, grades are such a class-driven metric these days. Like if the kid has like lots of help, obviously they're going to get a good grade. What happens to the single mom who's working 2 jobs or 3 jobs, and the child is on their own, taking care of themselves? Shouldn't their 3.0 be worth more than a child's 4.0 where they have like 5 people helping them? These are conversations that we need to have, and understanding what is, organically, what are the leadership skills. See, that child that I was talking to you about with the single mom, what amazing leadership is that? That on your own, you've kind of like gotten to that point. See, something like Chroma in the long term will allow us to extract that and kind of expose it to the world. That's kind of a little bit more of a noble intention of where I want to go in the long run.
I agree. And, it's interesting because we're talking about parents, but I want to shift a little bit to school counselors, because I feel like, during the school day, obviously when the child's at school, they're amongst their teachers and principals and school counselors. So how can school counselors support their students in building their portfolio of experiences for their college application and even their future career? So
it's kind of interesting, right? We just, because we were a consumer app, we were not focused on school counselors. What ended up happening was we got a lot of incoming from a lot of school counselors, and we're starting to work with a lot of school. One of the interesting things is, while it's not necessarily about the portfolio, for a lot of these counselors, it's presenting opportunity. I'm giving, and how do you, because counselors have responsibility more than, as a parent, we spoke about all of these, advising your kids on media and artifacts and stuff. But if you're a counselor and you're dealing with about 200 kids, it's kind of hard to do that, right? How do you do that? So what we've ended up, the first schools that we're starting to work with, we kind of came up with an interesting thing, and I shared this with you. What we decided to do was to kind of seed the app with micro scholarship. So we're experimenting with that, and local community businesses. And again, like everything else, if I tell you a story, it's the best case story, right? We're starting to work with a school district in New York City, and it's actually a middle school, but we're starting to work with 8th grade kids. And the way the implementation is working is very simple. We were still struggling. How do we get all the kids motivated to do it, right? So what we decided to do was, they're going to have the app, and the counselors are recommending all the kids to start using it over the course of the year, and they get all of the advice. But working with us, they found sponsorship for a $2,000 scholarship sponsorship for the year. But remember, these kids are too young, right? So typically a lot of the micro scholarships that we put in, we get in from businesses, we find community businesses, and it's driven for college. You can apply it for your college fees or books or whatever. But in this case, these kids are young, so what they wanted to do was, it's going to run all year. And all the kids are going to continue to manage it. They're going to give them some guidance. In fact, we have a lot of ambassadors who are amazing kids. These are like amazing rising seniors who are all probably some of the best students in the world, who are willing to kind of like get on the conference call and teach kids or do those kind of things. But in spite of that, it's not that complicated. The app is not that complicated to use, right? Just advising them on what to use. So the scholarship actually defined what they want to do. So what they're doing is they're running it for STEM. So they want to use that scholarship money at the end of the year to pay for summer camps. And so they've taken that money, and they've set up like 4 scholarships and say, we're going to pick 4 winners at the end of the year. And here's the criteria for winning. And they've set up some basic criteria. They said, hey, we want you to do 10 artifacts. We want you to be a mix of academics, and if you're an athlete, great. If you're not an athlete, extracurricular activities. But because if you want to win the STEM scholarship, we want to see something in STEM, your experiments in the classroom, we want you to archive it. And we're going to select the best 4 kids at the end of the year and give it away. So that's for the 8th graders. Now the counselors, on the high school side, what we're trying to do is, and the follow through for these 8th graders actually is, one of the things that we realized is a lot of the local community is willing to help. People want to help. The great thing about Chroma and viewing these stories in a visual manner is it kind of gets them excited. So this school, what they're doing is they're running this program for this first year. They're going to put the winners, they're setting up a page. We set up a page for them that describes the competition and everything, and it's showing some of the key kids. Look at what the kids are doing. They're using that page to reach out to other community businesses along with us to say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. Would you like to contribute for next year? So now all of a sudden they have the opportunity to expand that thing. Now that's for the younger kids. For the older kids, it's pretty simple. We work with them to do similar things for college scholarships if they want to. And we also do internships. I told you and I were trying to work with that organization. What we try to do is say, hey, let's get it going. If we need to, there's going to be internship opportunities for these kids. Some of them are remote, some of them may not be. We're just getting started with that. So over the next 3-4 months, there's going to be a lot of internships and micro scholarships in there, opportunities for these kids. Is allowed to expose them and say, hey, here's what's going on. And we're going to be sharing more things. Now, if the school wants to do something very focused with us, we'll be happy to kind of participate with them in terms of finding a scholarship. If they say, hey, we want to set up a micro scholarship, we're interested in doing it. We are also interested in finding an internship in a local community. Let us do the hard work. We have a network. We're all startup guys. We have a network of businesses and industry. We'll be happy to pick up the phone, contact, for example, if we do it in Atlanta, like you said, we were able to go and reach a business in Atlanta who's actually willing to go ahead and create opportunities in terms of internships or scholarships. Is that always going to work? Maybe, maybe not. But at least you have a starting point. The importance of, and if you're a counselor that basically just wants to understand and advise your kids, no better way to find out who they are than if you're looking at a vision. The same reason why somebody else may kind of look at it and try to understand the kid is probably the reason you should be doing it. We have about 2 or 3 independent consulting companies that are already adopted because the app is free. And remember, it's free for schools too. I mean, there's no cost in terms of our app. So it's a matter of how easy you want, how much involvement you want to have and how much you want to understand about your kids. And if counselors are watching, please feel free to have them contact us. I'm sure you'll give them my email. We'll be happy to kind of have discussions. We're also working with a lot of large nationwide organization, NCEP, National Community Education Partnerships. We're trying to kind of incorporate portfolios into their curriculum because they've come to the realization that allowing kids to build a curriculum not only helps them guide the kids better, but also is a better pathway for college. And it's more and more becoming almost important where when you're ready to send your admission application, you have some kind of the portfolio easier than we've built because all you do is take a picture and video. The app does everything else. So, yeah, I know. I mean, heck, our premise is it's all about engagement, right? I mean, we want, and that's why we designed it with kids. And we still, if we have blowback, the kids will always call us back and tell you, "Oh, why'd you do this? I'm never going to use it." We actually did some stuff. We did some. We were trying to do a leaderboard, and then the kids came back and said, "You know what? We don't want all that." So we took it off.
That's good, though. That's good. And speaking of, this is now back to the students. Now, what are I would say, or in your opinion, what are the top 3 mistakes that students should avoid when trying to get involved in activities to include on their college applications when building their portfolio?
Sure. This is kind of a funny thing, right? I mean, there's been a lot of stuff in the press right now. Part of what Chroma does is it allows you to have your own digital presence to present. Because if you don't submit something on your own, chances are the college is looking for your Facebook profile and your Instagram profile, right? If you already pre-submitted, then trust me, college folks are busy too. They'll just take what you sent them and not go looking for it, right? So the most important thing is understand that Chroma is not your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed. It is, you are presenting your abilities and skill sets. So, if you go get a pet, don't take a picture and say, got a pet today. Well, that's not that it's a bad thing, but it's surely going to turn somebody off. I always have this joke. People always ask me, Supra, why did you used to get dressed up? When I was in corporate America, I used to wear a tie when I went to businesses not in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is different. But when I went to Europe or to Asia, I always wore a suit and tie. People say, why are you wearing that? Your culture is wearing jeans and T-shirts in Silicon Valley. I always just tell them, I agree, except I'm going someplace new where I don't know the people, and I don't want to give them any reason to kind of knock you off without even getting to the point where you need to present. So all things remaining equal, you always want to present the best of yourself, right? And then if you don't need it, you're okay. But going in. So the biggest mistakes that I would tell you kids is, first and foremost, don't overload your thing. Every time you kick a soccer ball or hit a baseball, don't say play baseball today. That's a waste of time, because what you're going to do is you're going to get people to kind of tune out to the important things, right? Number 2, descriptions. Don't be lax in your description. The worst thing you can do is to say, went to a regional and played today. Well, you just lost an amazing opportunity to tell a story. That's the other mistake that I've noticed. And finally, don't do pictures that are not relevant. If you're not going to tell the person that's viewing it something about yourself, then it's a waste. You already have other apps for it. You're already, if you spend as much time on Chroma as you did on Instagram, I'd be extremely happy, but you won't. You're already spending 5 hours on Instagram and Snapchat. No reason to use Chroma the same way you're using that. So for me, the top 3 things are that: use descriptions wisely. Don't kind of waste a description opportunity. Number 2, don't overload it with the junky stuff of the things that you do. make it meaningful. And finally, don't put things that are completely irrelevant. Like getting a pet, or you went to a concert. Well, unless you happen to be working at the concert, don't necessarily say you went to a concert. That's all I would say.
Okay, and I totally agree. Again, it's about, like you mentioned in the beginning, that is the student's digital presence.
Yeah.
And so they have to be careful, about what they're conveying and portraying to their future employers, maybe their future college, future internship coordinator.
Sure. And here's the thing, right? I mean, people always say, hey, one of the things that I don't like is when colleges and people go into Facebook posts of kids and Instagram posts of kids and make evaluations, right? I think it's kind of a little unfair, but hey, I'm not the college guy, so I can't tell colleges what to do, because think about it. When you're on Facebook and Instagram, you're just posting. Sometimes you do stupid things as a kid, right? So I personally have a problem with that. But, whether it's Chroma or anywhere else, if you're at a critical juncture where you're going to be exposed, just think about that. That's all I would say. It's okay to be controversial as long as you're not hurting somebody else.
Right.
Right? See, and this is not about Chroma. I'm just telling kids, if you're going to post something on social media, right? The things on social media that get you into trouble are not the things that you do, the stupid things that you do. It's the things that you do where people construe it as hurting somebody, either a group of people or an audiences, or you're putting somebody else down. That's what hurts you, because nobody wants to be associated with somebody that actually is mean and kind of like doesn't have an open mind about things. Because remember, colleges are all about having an open mind. So just be cautious about that is all I would say.
Very true. And so now I'm really excited, because now we're going to get a chance to learn now about really what the ChromaUp app is. So parents, this is, I'm going to ask Supra to kind of break it down for us. What are the features? Maybe give us a little background. You shared in the beginning a little bit, but kind of how it came to be and where it is now, and what parents can expect when their kids sign up for it.
Sure. So first and foremost, it's a free app. So just go download it, set it up. One thing the Chroma app is very, very simple, guys. The use of the app is as simple as taking a picture and a video. That's it. And the videos that we recommend are less than 60 seconds. We have a limit on 60 seconds. In fact, my advice, 60 seconds is too long, if you will. Because in today's environment, if you're posting something, your video is not as important as a snippet of the video, maybe 10, 15 seconds, and the description. Remember, like everything else, I keep going back to that. What you say is as important as what you put. In fact, in many cases, it's more important than what you put in there. So it's simple as that. There's nothing to it. There's some other things within the app. One of the things is your profile. Your profile is for you to keep current. Your name, your some of the grades, and so some things are mandatory, some things are not. And then we actually allow the student to pick their interests and colleges that they may like or may not like. What is this for? It's all for you to kind of like have a profile yourself. And the thing that I wanted to say is your profile, we're not a social network. So when you're developing and building this thing, nobody gets to see it unless you decide to share it, if you will. And within the app, you'll get guidance on, when you first sign up, you'll get some small guidance on things to do. And by the way, it's so simple. I mean, we've already got, we launched last October and we started getting really on in January. We've got about almost like 900 users already, and we're growing really, really fast. And the one thing that I've noticed is most of the users are very engaged. There are some kids that come in and kind of like are held off, but the kids that kind of get going the first 2 weeks, they just seem to be on it, because once they kind of like make it a habit, hey, every week I'm going to just look at it for 2 minutes and see if there's anything I need to put in. They're very, very active. So that's pretty much the app. There's a couple of other small tabs in there. You will get in-app reminders and advice on key things which are useful. Sometimes they're segmented based on age. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're more generic things. We don't try to tell them, do this for college or do that for college. Not yet. What we do try to tell them is, hey, here are the 10 most important careers that are happening. What a career, we've shared things like If you decide to do this job, what is your earnings potential? While it may be a little much for some of the 8th graders and 9th graders, the way I look at it is it doesn't matter. Just the fact that it's there and you've thought about it, even if you don't go in there and look at it and participate in it, hey, what's happening in the world? An 8th grader with the knowledge that, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's happening, is more dangerous and really, really awesome, because when they get to the level that they need to be, about 11th, 12th grade, they're going to know exactly. They're going to, organically, they kind of absorb a lot of the stuff. So we have in-app reminders. And, like I said, we just launched the opportunities section. The opportunities section is going to be filled with micro scholarship opportunities where, we are working with a lot of large companies that will be kind of sponsoring things that are interest to them. Some companies are going to be sponsoring STEM scholarships. Some of them may be, over the long run, we're going to start trying to do athletics, student athlete scholarships too, if you will. So we're trying to work with them. We already have seeded it with our own scholarship for next year. And it's for every grade. It's for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. We don't have one for 8th grade, but we have one for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And kids get to participate. Nothing to participate. If you have a good timeline, just submit it. Simple as that. And then you stand a good chance. And we're going to try and expand that even more to create more micro opportunities. What else is in the app? I mean, that's pretty much it. You have your profile, you have your timeline, you have opportunities. And how do we come up with this thing? Where my last startup, we did something, if you will, actually. My son was in preschool, and he used to bring these folders home every week, where the teachers actually sent us all the work that he did during the week. And what I realized when he was in preschool was there was a method to the madness. The reason the teachers send those things, it's not just for us to feel good and say, hey, my son colored an apple. It was actually a developmental tracking method. So, for example, when he was the beginning of the year, when they were coloring the apple, the colors were coming outside of the apple. And then by the end of the year, you could notice that the colors were within the apple. So there was a developmental methodology to why the kids would be doing that and why they were sharing it. Except it's such a cumbersome task. So we actually built an app where the teachers could just click pictures and tag, and you were done. So, but like I said, I've been thinking about this because I've never had a resume or an application that I filled where I looked at it after I did it and said, you know what, this is ridiculous. This is not me at all. If they met me, I would be way better than that. And I always think that. So I've had this haunting me since I've been looking for work and in college. Is nobody ever knows. And I'm a startup guy. There are 3 startups in a row, and I've always realized the people that we hire based on what we've seen in a resume are always don't map to the success that we see of somebody that we kind of find out about them after about 6 months. After 6 months, if you ask me, almost 99% of the time we would look and say, you know what? It's not that guy that had this great resume. It's this other guy who's really good. So that's always haunted me, and I think we have the tools and the ability right now to do it. Where is the app going? Very, very simple. Right now, portfolios are important for applications and admission process. These are the beginning. These are the kids that are starting to do it now are the first batch of kids. What we're building in the back end is a computational engine to kind of understand these kids to help them better. Like, for example, like how a parent would look at a child and say, my son is good at this and yada, I want to guide him on that. We want the app to be able to understand the child and present opportunities. Because remember, a lot of the kids that we want using Chroma sometimes don't have a story to tell because they don't have the ability to get a story to tell. They may not have the opportunities, or they may not know how to find the opportunities. We want Chroma from the 8th grade not to be a developmental tool where if a child happens to be really good at something and lives in a specific area, present them and say, hey, did you know there's an opportunity here? There's a scholarship here. There's an internship this summer. There's work here. And the premise of connecting these kids through high school with these businesses and understanding what's going on is because if they happen to connect with those businesses and win a scholarship, think about it. All of a sudden, you know somebody there that, you know, the CEO or the VP or somebody as a high school kid who you can literally go back to. You know how relationships are formed, right? That's how relationships are formed. For us, it's a way to tell these kids. So we're just getting started with those pieces. And, you know, some of the senior kids may not reap the benefits of it. But, hey, like I said, as senior kids, do it. Because the greatest thing you can go back and say is we were the pioneers in a world which helped change education for a whole generation of kids.
I agree. And thanks for sharing that background. And I can tell you just from our just brief interaction and since we've known each other, I'm appreciative of it. And I wish I had it when I was going through college.
I know, me too.
But if you can share with the parents that are listening and school counselors, if you can share the website, that way they can check it out.
Sure. So you know, we originally branded as Chroma, but the website is ChromaUp, ChromaUp.com. And the app is available for both iOS and Android. And it's, by the way, it's a phone app. It's not an iPad. It's not this thing, because it's supposed to be for just taking pictures and videos. And it's a pretty simple thing. So if you have a kid, make sure that the app is downloaded, and once the kid signs up, if you want to log in, download the app and use the same login. We don't have multiple kids and management and all of that stuff, because the premise is not for parents to do it. The premise is for the kid to be organically doing it themselves. So you want to advise your kid, not necessarily do it for your kid. But of course, you can always log in and take a look at it. Yeah, that's a big philosophy for us. We're like, hey, you know, if you're solving a problem to encourage kids to do something and find pathways, it shouldn't be solutions that we build for old people and for ourselves to feel good, right? That never works. All these features, I can manage this, I can check that, I can do this. Well, nobody's using it, so what are we taking?
Right. And I want to end with this question. I always like to ask people, what is your number one piece of advice for students that are in the midst of this college admissions, college application process? How can they create stronger college applications with their experiences? So
for me, you know, I've used this term so many times, right? You have to be organic. You know, if you look at for me, the biggest thing that I noticed, remember, I'm no college expert by any means. You know, I only know what I know organically because of the people that we hire, that I have hired. You know, hey, I've been working for 25 years at big companies and at startups. People that we hire, right? One of the things that I realize is people try to manufacture stuff, right? And when you manufacture stuff, it is, unfortunately for us, what I've been observing is our entire admissions thing is so manufactured that it does such a disservice to everybody, right? That's why I'm all about being organic. Why do we say organically capture experiences that you can, but if you're a senior, you know the story that I just told you about that kid from Boston. Everybody had this great achievement, you know, everybody was like a 4.25, everybody was 1500 SAT. He stood out because of what he said. You know, everybody wants to be a scientist and a scholar. He said, I want to be an actor, but if it doesn't work, I'm still training to be a teacher. Guess what? I forgot about everybody else. I remembered him. So people want to be surrounded by interesting people. That doesn't mean don't share your achievement. Share your achievement, but be very organic for multiple reasons. If you're organic, number one, it comes through. Yeah, your stories are better. Your stories are better because when I read an organic story, as opposed to, you know, I'm the first generation immigrant. If I sit there and say I'm the first generation immigrant, I have experiences from my old life, I have experience from my new life. You know what? People probably heard that story 1 million times. Everybody's an immigrant. So, but if I'm able to tell you, hey, this is what happened to me, and this is who I became. You know, I failed like about 5 times. You know, for about every 10 failures I have, and people ask me about failing and say, oh, you're a success, you're a failure. I said, no. I said, we're always failing. What we do is we take that failure and try to find the nugget of winning in it to be able to win. So for me, the biggest thing that I would advise seniors is, number one, be organic in your storytelling. You know, when you tell a story, And part of developing Chroma is to help kids do that. You know, try to understand who you are. And the important path is going to college or pursuing a career, whether it's college or trades or vocation or whatever it is not about trying to meet a milestone and jumping over that milestone. It's about your future marathon. So make sure you're going into the right thing. You know, there's a saying, right? Any idiot can get into Harvard one time, but can they actually sustain it? If you're going to get into Harvard and you can't sustain it and you're going to get burnt out, it's probably the wrong place to go, right? You want to go to a place which helps you thrive, and you only can do that if you know organically that that's the place that's suited for you. So my advice to seniors is, number one, building an organic portfolio like Chroma and not being a reaction to when you're ready to fill your application, going in there, what have I done in the past 6 years? Let me go look and go put it all and put it in there. The difference between that and this is very, very simple. Think about what you're doing, not for the sake of your admissions, but the sake of what's good for you and for your family and what's going to help you. Because when you do that, you get to the right place. And if you get to the right place and do the right things, you're going to be successful. I personally think all these big, fancy degrees don't mean anything if you can't do anything. You got to be able to organically do the things that you're good at. What you're good at, you should know inherently. Sometimes it's hard to know, and that's why self-reflection, organic self-reflection, helps you in that process. And I think as a country, we've got to go back to that, where we say, hey, it shouldn't be a rat race of getting into college, because what does getting into college actually mean? Nothing. How do you succeed beyond is the most critical part for me. So my advice to seniors, hey, tell your story truly, be true to yourself, because that's more important than anything else.
And super, I love that. Oh my goodness, in the last hour, you have shared so many nuggets that I'm really encouraging parents that are listening, school counselors that are listening, listen to this a couple thousand times and take some notes. But most importantly, and I'm going to share all the links, and I'm going to share some documents that Super sent over, and also how to contact him, the social media platforms. That way you can stay in touch. You can ask questions. And,
sure.
and most importantly is get your students involved, get them to sign up for ChromaUp, and get them using this and actively documenting organically their experiences. So thank you so much, Supra.
Thanks, Ashley, and thanks, guys. Hey, for anybody that wants to ping us. We reply to everyone personally. We have no bots or anything else.
Very, very good.
One thing I did forget. Yeah. One thing I did forget for all the parents in terms of the features. One of the things that we're adding is a chat for the kids to find out, do college discovery within the app. So
awesome.
That's coming. So they can just have a conversation and get to know colleges right in there, whatever college they want. So we're trying to integrate as many colleges as possible.
I love that. So parents, stay tuned for that too.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye.